Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Russ Riesinger. An explosion rocks a Lockwood business, leaving 2 people severely burned.
Fire crews and hazmat responded to the scene this afternoon following the explosion inside a tanker wash bay.
Well, tonight, both men burned in that incident had been flown to Salt Lake City for treatment.
Q2's David J. has more on what happened around 3:30 today on North Frontage Road.
The Lockwood Fire Department responded to an explosion and fire in the Polar Service Center's tank wash building.
There was an attempt to either remove some fuel so they could clean the tanks, and we're going to assume at this point, we can't confirm it yet, that either one of the motors from the pump or something inside, maybe static, ignited the vapors from the gasoline and we had an explosion.
As soon as they arrived, firefighters quickly helped rescue the 2 workers involved in the explosion.
They both received burns. One is a little more extensive than the other. We believe their ages to be 41 and 23. We're still waiting to hear whether they're significant enough to be transported to one of the burn centers in either Salt Lake or Denver. That was the first order of business, get the 2 individuals, get them loaded in an ambulance. We want to thank AMR for coming to our aid there. And then they started fighting the fire.
The Lockwood Fire Department ventilated the wash bay, and the Billings Fire Department and the regional hazmat team found safe levels in the air and still had to determine what chemicals were in the building.
Because of the types of products they do in there, use in there, these tankers carry everything from hazardous materials to fuels and so on. We had to call the Billings regional hazmat team to determine what those products were, how they infect the environment, whether we can put water on them, whether they're safe for the people in the community of Lockwood. So that becomes the secondary part after the rescue's done and the fire's put out.
And the chief says Polar has a tank to collect the contaminated water. David J., MTN News, Lockwood.
Again, Chief Staley tells us both of the injured workers were transported to the University of Utah Burn Center in Salt Lake City tonight.
Firefighters cleared the scene a little before 7 tonight.
Well, new details tonight in the case of a Billings businessman accused of defrauding nearly a dozen banks across the country in an alleged scheme to buy oil tankers.
47-year-old Todd Kapser was set for a detention hearing today in Montana federal court, but in a last-minute decision by Kapser and his attorney, he decided to waive that right. Q2's Andrea Lutz was at that court proceeding today and joins us now with more. Andrea?
Well, Todd Kapser appeared in federal court, still in the custody of the U.S. Marshals. He walked into the courtroom in a gray jumpsuit, exchanged glances with his family and mom and dad, and broke down into tears. And although he was in court, that detention hearing didn't happen. Officials say Kapser waived his right to that hearing today in Montana to instead have the hearing in the Southern District of New York. Kapser was a prominent member of the Billings community, serving under Conrad Burns, and a trustee even at the St. Vincent Healthcare. Kapser arrested yesterday on a warrant. He faces 3 charges as a part of a scam to get a $43 million loan from a Canadian bank to buy 2 oil tankers. Well, in March of 2018, a shipping firm managing those tankers fell behind on the loan. So Kapser decided to go to another bank seeking loans, including one in New York. That's according to prosecutors. He's accused of using fake balance sheets as collateral. Well, now Kapser will travel to the Southern District of New York for that initial detention hearing. Again, as of now, he remains in the custody of U.S. Marshals in Yellowstone County. Jeanelle and Russ.
All right. Thank you, Andrea.
Well, tonight, Billings community members got their first look at plans for the proposed Southside Aquatic Center.
Tonight, A&E architects unveiling 2 potential master plans to choose from. The proposed rec center would be built adjacent to Amen Park in South Billings. Plan A is a 3-phase project that includes 6 basketball and volleyball courts, a practice and competition ice rink, plus a pool. In all, Project A involves 163,900 square feet of space and comes to a grand total of $71.5 million.
Now, Plan B calls for a larger center with a square footage of just over 224,000 and a total cost of around $102 million. The main difference is more volleyball courts, a walk-jog track, and a 50-meter competition pool. The aquatic center would be open to the public, but also available for big tournaments, be it basketball, volleyball, hockey, or swimming. The creators believe the connection with Amen Park creates a unique opportunity for an indoor and outdoor community hub.
This is something that our community really needs. We need to step forward and take that opportunity that's before us and really capitalize on it, not only for our local population, but then also how does this recreation center become a draw regionally? We can create a facility that doesn't exist in the state of Montana right now and really become a regional draw.
Now, the hope is to have the master plan wrapped up by June of this year. From there, the focus will be on funding and execution.
He's already made history as Montana's first African-American mayor. Now it appears Helena's Wilmot Collins is considering a run for Senate. Sources close to MTN say the Democrat will challenge Steve Daines in 2020.
I may not look or sound like the regular politicians, but I'm a hard worker and I get things done.
Collins, who originally came to the U.S. as a refugee of the Civil War in Liberia, took to Twitter to post this video. In it, he says many thought a refugee could never be elected to office in Montana, and let's prove them wrong again, he says. He's set to make an announcement for Monday, May 13th in Helena.
The Montana Department of Commerce warning citizens tonight about a fake census survey showing up in the mailbox. Now, the survey, called the 2019 Congressional District Census, comes from the Republican National Committee and asks for a minimum of $15 processing fee. Now, the U.S. Census Bureau will never ask for money. The official census begins on March 2020. Now, the census count is important for securing federal funding and will determine whether Montana will get another representative in Congress.
Woman is now facing 3 felony charges for an accident that sent a pedestrian to the hospital Tuesday night in downtown Billings. And it is at least the 5th time that she's been charged with DUI, according to court records. 49-year-old Lauren Sita Shotgun is accused of driving the Ford Explorer Sport Track that struck a woman on North 27th and 2nd Avenue North. Blood sample taken after that accident showed Shotgun with a blood alcohol content of 0.308. That's nearly 4 times the legal level. Shotgun could face up to more than 10 years in prison. No word on the injured pedestrian. Governor Steve Bullock signed one of the biggest bills of the 2019 session today, the continuation of Medicaid expansion, which provides health coverage to more than 90,000 low-income Montanans.
But it wasn't the only health care measure to become law on this day. MTN's Mike Dennison reports.
Scores of lawmakers, health officials, and supporters packed the governor's conference room Thursday as he signed not only the bill to continue Medicaid expansion in Montana, but several others to tackle everything from prescription drug costs to mental health treatment.
These priority bills work together to protect the progress our state's made in recent years to provide quality and affordable health care to all Montanans. They'll further our efforts to increase access, reduce costs, and improve the quality of care.
Bullock signed 4 bills Thursday. 5 others had been signed earlier but were part of the ceremony. They included a bill from Representative Jessica Karjala of Billings to fund suicide prevention efforts with a special emphasis on military veterans.
Montana has one of the worst suicide rates in the nation, though we are improving, but our veterans commit suicide at twice the rate of other people.
And another bill from Representative Jonathan Windyboy of Box Elder establishes community health aides on Montana's Indian reservations.
The tribe's Indian Health Service programs will triple their third-party revenue, and as well as also have the ability for the dental health aid technicians, behavioral health aid technicians, mental health aid technicians.
But the star of the ceremony was House Bill 658, the bill from Republican Ed Buttrey of Great Falls that continues Medicaid expansion in Montana. Medicaid expansion will bring $1.4 billion of federal money into the state over the next 2 years and cover an estimated 90,000 people. And the state treasury's net share of the cost will be a mere $16 million. Supporters of the bill flocked to the ceremony at the Capitol, and Bullock gave them and all the program's advocates a special thank you.
And thank to all of the rest of you gathered here and in every corner of the state that worked hard, who talked to legislators, who organized in communities, who underscored the importance of health care to make sure that this could happen today.
The big dog in this health care pack is certainly Medicaid expansion. But the rest of this group of bipartisan bills takes aim at health care problems facing many more Montana citizens. At the Capitol, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Now, despite today's signings, the governor also vetoed a significant health care measure. That measure meant to lower prescription drug costs.
Bullock says the bill could lead to higher drug prices for customers of smaller health insurers and reduced choices for consumers.
Well, turning to weather, we definitely had our April showers, and May has already had its fair share. So tonight, Q2's Bob McGuire joins us with a look at the drought monitor.
Yeah, we've been talking about drought the last 2 or 3 years, and finally, it's the first time in 20 years, this is the least amount of drought we've seen anywhere in the country. Let me show you what we're talking about. Here's a drought monitor. Remember how droughty it was in California? Well, in Southern California, about by San Diego, they have abnormally dry conditions, and the only place we could find in the country that even has severe drought is over there in Gallup, New Mexico. Let's take a farther look. You go up here to look. No more drought in California. Up here in Montana, we have some abnormally dry conditions. In the northwest corner of the state, we have some moderate drought in Washington, and same thing in the Bighorn Mountains, but that's about it. You go back towards the southeast, maybe Georgia, South Carolina, and Mississippi, all seeing maybe a little drought in that area, but that's about all. So really kind of nice. This is the least amount of drought we have had in the country in the last 20 years. And we're going to be dry again tomorrow. We'll have more on that coming your way in a few more minutes.
Definitely good news. Thank you, Bob.
Well, coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, the number of people with whooping cough in western Montana growing by leaps and bounds. We'll have the latest numbers.
Plus, if you want to take part in this Saturday's women's run, there is still time.
And later in sports, Scott chats with your next Athlete of the Year finalist. Has the athletic Jesse Owens ever dunked in a game?
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.